everyone, Warren here again with the Peach State Prime Transformers channel. And today we're doing an extra special look at one of the most beloved classic Transformers characters ever, Cosmos. So we're going to look at what I'm calling the legacy of Cosmos, kind of tracking the evolution of his figures here. And we're going to see if the latest offering is indeed the best Cosmos ever. So stick around. Alright, so we are starting with the figure that started it all, released between 1985 and 1986, is G1 Cosmos, the OG. And as you can see, he's part of the mini vehicle assortment. Just had to recenter him there. He is leaning a little forward, but, he is part of that tiny assortment. Just like Bumblebee, Cliff Jumper, Beachcomber, Warpath, Sea Spray, Power Glide, all those classic characters. And, for being a mini car, he didn't pull off his look that bad, in comparison to the cartoon. Of course, the toy would have come first. My copy of the head here is, a little yellow. The paint's wearing a little bit. Again, it is a toy from the 80s. You got his rub sign here, and you got sticker with some details there, and we'll see how that carries through with some of the other toys. But what always made Cosmos kind of unique was that, is he going to stand up more? No, he can lean. He's an old bot. Is that, his alt mode, he turns into, and we'll take a look at the alt mode here in a little bit, basically a spaceship, but a UFO, your flying saucer type spaceship, or again, UFO. And really was unique because, we didn't have a lot of spaceships. We still really don't throughout the Transformers universe, though we do have more, Cybertronian modes and options out there now. But he wasn't just another bot with an Earth-based vehicle mode that he could really hide and disguise somewhere. His best bet outside of being in outer space, which again would get the definitely get noticed from any Earth-based based tracking systems. But his best bet outside of that, outside of deep space, would have been a movie set or like a theme park or a museum of some sort. Because, he couldn't just go anywhere, like an Air Force base or a car dealership or middle of the highway and turn into a UFO. So, he was always kind of unique there and kind of stood out. Alright, and I know I probably talked more about Cosmos's, that sounds weird, Cosmos, alt mode just a minute ago, but here it is, and trying to get that camera to focus. Again, it is a smaller figure, and here, I'll just bring it up to the screen. You can see, it is, like I said, a classic flying saucer. You have this raised section that I guess would be, the bridge of a spaceship. I'm using my Star Trek terminology. You have his hands, his fingers are kind of like thrusters, and then his head is, just kind of the top of the roof there. You just push it down, and, so again, very cool. Again, you don't see his head in either mode, and he pulls both modes off really well for being a simple little G1 figure. You got some wheels so he can roll. So that is G1 Cosmos. Alright, then Cosmos, first true update in a figure came in the form of a Legends figure as part of the Universe 2008 line. You can see he looks like Cosmos. Figure does have some issues, but this is what we had for a little while. You can see he still retains the classic, and I did not put him in the center of this thing whatsoever, did I? Sorry, folks. But you can see he still retains the classic colors that Cosmos always had. He still has, his head in every release. Cosmos' head is never changed from being that kind of that top of the spaceship. You got some details on the chest there, not quite reminiscent of the sticker of the original, which, we still have here. And I'm going to transform real quick. So you can see, it's not quite the same there. I think the thing that really stands out about this Legends class figure is how they did his arms, which I am not a fan of, especially after you see the additional versions of Cosmos that I'm going to show you today, because they're just, he almost looks like Popeye the Sailor Man, these big muscular arms here. They don't bend, they have no articulation. You can see his hand is just kind of molded in there on both sides. And, it looked decent on a shelf, but, again, not the Cosmos we're all quite used to when, especially when we compare it again to some of the upcoming figures. All right, so now we have 2008 Universe Legend Scale Cosmos in his UFO mode. There's a few things I do like about this, few things I don't. I do think he pulls off this mode better than the bot mode. The alien writing, or maybe it's Cybertronian design here, that's a nice touch. And then I also like how flat they got him. As we saw with the original Cosmos, you have that cockpit, or that, what I'm calling the bridge section. This inner circle is usually popped up. And this is really the only Cosmos that accomplished, having it somewhat flat. One thing I'm not a fan of is this fin here. I mean, it does look alien. It could be on a spaceship, a UFO, but I don't really know. I don't know. I feel it gets in the way more. I mean, I guess it's giving me something to hold on to now, but that was definitely a design choice that was gone with that isn't quite reminiscent of the original Cosmos. One more complaint I do have about this 2008, though I do think it came out 2009, Cosmos figure, is this leg that's on a ball and socket joint. I was just trying to put it back in bot mode for the end of the video here, and both putting it in UFO mode and robot mode, it just continually falls off. So that's another point I got to take away from it. And see, there it goes again. Pop that back on. Now, as I'm fixing this, I do want to say there was also a Cosmos released in Generations in 2014 with a Target Master payload. I do not have that figure, so I am familiar with it though, and it's not going to have a bearing on the outcome of of this video today, as far as who's the best Cosmos. But be aware, it is another Cosmos figure that's out there, in addition to a Creon or Creo minifigure that I also do not own. But the next one we are going to take a look at is from Titan's Return, from 2017, Cosmos. Now, up to this point, this is probably the best Cosmos figure. He was still a Legends class, a little bit bigger Legends class, but you got some of that detail there. Again, you still have the classic Cosmos colors. We never really swapped those from the character, which is nice. And you can see, you have his rocket pack there. You can see in the back. So again, very nice details. We compare them to the original. Definitely an upgrade. There are some, design changes. You can actually bend for the first time of the figures I have here. The first time he could really easily bend his arms. Again, that, one from 2014, the Target Master, I believe you could as well. But the figures I have, this is the first one where you could bend his arms. You have some of the details, you still have this nice chrome sticker detail on the original, and they made some design choices. It doesn't quite evoke that same look, but you still got some nice details on this Cosmos from Titan's Return. Alright, and then we have the alt mode for the Titan's Return Cosmos. And this has a pretty nice alt mode, though I will say it's a little bit of a pain in the butt, a little finicky when transforming. Nothing really falls off. It's just you got to know I guess it's true of any transformer. You need to know exactly how to turn and twist everything, but just, maybe not as intuitive as one would think. So this one here does have some blasters in the front, which is a very nice detail to include. You'll see it does have that raised bridge section, and those details that were on the chest are now windows for whoever might be inside. This one did retain the fin from the Generations 2008 one that we just took a look at. You do have some rocket boosters in the back here. And again, the head still becomes the roof. That's kind of a universal trademark of Cosmos. The bottom here, everything's nice, and it's not really a shell former, but, you do have everything nice and tucked away in there. So, I do think this one pulls off the, I like the bot mode for what it is. It's a nice update, but I think I like, again, the alt mode on this one a bit more. So that brings us to the latest Cosmos offering, and by far the most controversial, and that is Legacy Deluxe Cosmos. And you can see he's quite a bit bigger than G1 Cosmos there. And we'll do some more comparisons here in a bit. But Generations Cosmos, what can I say? Most people have already had some experience with this figure. He's nice and beefy for a deluxe. He had his own special shape packaging as a deluxe. But, what makes him so controversial? For those who are not aware, and those of you that are, you get to hear it again. This figure was initially released in 2022 by Hasbro as part of the Velocitron 500 subline for Legacy. Now, you can say, okay, well, that's great. Well, the problem with the Velocitron line is that it was a Walmart exclusive, which means, orders, distribution, all that was all up to Walmart. Needless to say, you could not find this guy. If you did, it was like winning the lottery. And, Hasbro in their infinite wisdom, originally Cosmos was going to be a retool. And I forget exactly what figure that was, but along the design process, they came up with this awesome new mold for Cosmos. And, just like they did with what we now know as Earthrise Soundwave, that was released as a Walmart exclusive, also known as Netflix Soundwave, you couldn't find him either. And they were going, selling for crazy amounts on the aftermarket. Thankfully, so you got these awesome characters, these awesome molds, you can't get them. Thankfully, Hasbro made the right decision with this Cosmos mold and re-released it around 2024. to regular retail. So you could finally get this figure to add it to your collection, which is when I got him. But anyways, that's also why this Cosmos has a checkered flag, is because he was part of that Velocitron line. So he was kind of... Velocitron, for those that don't know, is a racing planet that was first introduced in the Cybertron canon. But anyway, so it was mostly race cars, things like that, or things that would go fast. The Cosmos was kind of squeezed into that subline, and or that capsule, and they gave him a checkered flag, so he could cheer on everybody, or be the person that says, "Ari Mark, get set, go," and be able to assist with the race in that way. This flag also does... Come on now. He does not want to let that go. Can also double as a blaster. You'll see there's a peg on the side here. And yeah, the flag still kind of, hangs off the side, or you could take it off. You just don't want to lose it. And he does have a blaster as well. Now, before we move on, I do want to show a couple quick comparisons. Now, for those not aware, this mold for Cosmos was so well done. It was, in fact, utilized for a repaint, and not just any repaint. This is Pathfinder. Pathfinder, for those of you that don't know, is a GoBot. So, of course, Hasbro does own the rights to the GoBots now, and they gave us a pack of Generations redecos of certain molds together, including Warpath and Gears. And, Cosmos was included, again, as Pathfinder. Everything's exactly the same, except he does have this shade of blue on him now, or her, I guess, Pathfinder. I think I've heard Pathfinder's a girl. I've never really paid that much attention, to be honest. I just like the different colors on these molds. Yellow is pretty much the same, maybe a slightly different shade. And the flag, this time, that is the logo of the Guardians from, again, from the GoBots. Still got an Autobot logo on him or her again. The other one I gotta show, of course, is G1 Cosmos. Now, of course, we'll do a group shot here in just a little bit. But you can see, from where we started to where we've now ended, Cosmos has gotten quite the upgrade, and will still remaining true to the original character. So you still got the classic green and yellow colors. Of course, this one does have an accessory, a flag/gun. Regular G1 Cosmos never had that. The head, again, is always in the same spot. You still have that nice kind of round barrel-like center there. You do have these nice details on the front, which are more animation accurate for Cosmos versus the toy. But I'll say I think this is the most similar to that original decal that I've seen between any of these. Both still have a little bit of a backpack, but, not bad. And, but I think Legacy Cosmos here is an excellent upgrade from G1 Cosmos. A nice homage, will bring in modern engineering to him. Great representation of the character, the most detail on the face of any of the Cosmos figures. And, I'm going to go ahead and spoil it. We're not quite done with the video, but this is the best Cosmos ever. No, bottom line. It is just an awesome, awesome figure. Transformation's great. Details are great. It is the best Cosmos. But before we, wrap up the video with our group shot and all that, let's take a look at the alt mode a little bit. All right, and here you have the alt mode for the best Cosmos ever. you know, very reminiscent of any other UFO mode Cosmos has ever had. You know, the one thing that does stand out immediately is, you know, his torso here is very tall compared to any other Cosmos toy. It's not my favorite part of this figure, but I'm willing to overlook it. You know, you have the classic, you know, you have a couple blasters here molded in. You have what's supposed to represent, you know, the blasters, you know, or his fingers, from the original, the thrusters, I should say. To compare that, let's look at the original here, and you can kind of see that. But again, just I bumped that. A stellar update to the original. And those little, and I forgot to call it out before, these little blasters that are molded on here are on the original toy. I don't think I ever realized that. No rub sign on this one, but you do have that silver area that I guess kind of represents it. Now, before anybody starts screaming at the at YouTube here, okay. So, in every Cosmos toy, I made this comment earlier, the head, you know, is always this little red dot here, or this roof. Okay, that's what this is supposed to represent. Technically, if you want to get technical about it, it's not really the top of the head, like in all the other Cosmos toys. And this looks silly. Maybe this is Oscar the Grouch mode. Anyways, however, the head is still located in the same spot. So I'm still going to stand by what I said earlier. Because it's still essentially the same, even though you're not just pushing it down. All right. Here's your group shot in comparison of the Cosmos lineup minus, again, that 2014, you know, Legends class, Target Master style one, which is really just an in-between of these two here in the middle. But just, you could just really trace the evolution, not only of the engineering and look of the character, but also the size. I mean, this could be a cell phone commercial right here for a strong signal. But, you know, one thing I forgot to call out on the Legacy Cosmos figure here is, you know, he does have some blasters on his fist there, which represent, you know, the thrusters of the original, that were the hands and fingers of the original. But, you know, each toy was its own update from the original on up. I gotta say, I really feel that this Legacy one, and again, I know this is a little late in saying this, even making this video, but I was just thinking about it the other day. You know, that Legacy Cosmos, he is the best Cosmos ever. And just really is the spectacular upgrade from anything we had before. I honestly don't know how they could top it. I mean, unless there's a way to make that torso go down more, I don't really know what else they can improve on, to be honest. All right, so this was the legacy or evolution of Cosmos, at least in toy form. Again, always been one of the more unique, one of my favorite characters out there. So it's kind of fun doing this video, you know, looking at all of them together, because I had yet to do that. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a like here on YouTube. And of course, leave a comment. What's your favorite Cosmos toy? Was it the one I didn't have? Or was it one of these? You know, of course, this is the right answer. But anyways, let me know your thoughts. And if you have suggestions for other, you know, kind of evolution videos, you know, let me know. As far as other content, subscribe to this channel and you'll see more Transformers-related reviews, spotlights. You know, from time to time, I'll talk about something new that's been revealed by Hasbro. You know, so subscribe and you'll be notified when those come up. If you just want some other fun videos, my other channel, my original channel, Peach State Prime, no subtitle, does cover, just fun in and around the Atlanta area. There's events, attractions, unique restaurants and stores, including collectible stores. I show off some other pieces of my collection on that channel that are not Transformers, so feel free to check that out as well. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great day, and God bless.